like cashier. Get the money like a cashier. Customer, clientele. I was broke, that was last year. Getting money like cashier. Get the money like a cashier. Benjamin, nothing less. I was broke, that was last year. Don't change on me. I never switched up. Been down since day one. Stay social. People change on me. I never switched up.
Music ain't playing no more.
I still hear music. You don't tell me what's in my heart.
The music's inside, man.
And we're
What's up,
live.
everybody? Welcome to Dope Black Thoughts Live. Boom, 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 boom.
It's just me. I'm not.
That beat was bumping. Sorry, I couldn't help it. I can have it repeat. Hey, my name is Marcus. How y'all doing?
My name's Kevin.
I'm Stefania.
I'm Hashim, also known as Hashade. I'm tired, man. I've been on Zooms for the past 5 hours.
Asking for the whole.
So you ask how I'm doing. Don't be authentic with me.
He asked Kevin how he was, not you.
Hey, we got one more of the member missing. What's up?
There he is.
Where's the paper boy at?
Oh, Paperboy's here. Mike Carter, aka the Paperboy. Aloha.
That's what's up. All right. So, anyway, welcome.
We got a special guest online today.
Yeah, no doubt.
Mr. Johnson, I see you over there.
What's up, Hashim? Introduce
Hey.
us.
All right, cool. So right now we're working through the devil's obstacles of causing us some technical difficulties right now. But this is a carry-on from our last episode that we had where we talked about a situation that was going on in the city of Aurora as it related to the Civil Service Commission. And we actually have on today, that'll be coming on once we get these wrinkles ironed out, Harold Johnson himself, so that we can hear his version of his own life without a Republican slant on that. So a little bit about Harold. Harold is a father. He is also a coach and an educator, and he's a retired civil servant from the Denver Fire Department. So after he retired from that, decided to live life a little bit. For some odd reason, he decided to get back into the spirit of giving and be a part and helping community, right? Like serving community is a lifelong thing. And he's really living that right now by volunteering to be a part of the Civil Service Commission, being voted in unanimously, only to be turned around and be attacked viciously by those people who said yes, but then had some type of reservation to their yes. So
now, look, I wasn't on last week's episode. I was out. I was traveling. Please, can you give me a little bit of recap of what the conversation was looking like already? Kind of what was the.
Hey, before we start, let's just make sure that Mr. Johnson can hear us. Can you hear us, Mr. Johnson?
I can't hear you on my laptop. I can hear you on my phone.
Okay. Well, as long as you can hear us, we good. We good.
Yeah.
So, all right. Go ahead.
Let it work like that.
So,
Yeah, give me a small recap.
all right. So, I mean, that was the recap.
Okay, that was enough of a recap. That's fine because I did a little reading.
No, you're good.
I looked up some articles I saw, and it seems like a classic story of a black man being embattled in the kind of world that we live in. And what I was kind of wondering was, if we go back, 6-10 years in the history of the Civil Service Commission, are there any people on there that may still be serving? I seem to remember the Civil Service Commission reinstating an officer that called black people porch monkeys. I'm wondering, are those people still serving? And if so, what do their job histories look like? What kind of questions are we asking about their employment and careers? Just kind of wondering what the inquiring minds, how the gears are actually turning when we're talking about, let's go back into this black man's career. Are we going back into these other people's career? That's the first thing that popped into my mind. Wait a minute, I seem to remember Porch Monkey guy got his job back after being fired by a chief of color.
He did, 2017, and he was a sergeant and was demoted, or captain, wasn't he, and was demoted to sergeant coming back in. But yeah.
So that's just where my mind goes.
Mm-hmm.
all right. So, Hashim, why don't you go ahead? What's the next step then? How do we want to start this discussion?
All right. So all that everybody has said is true, right? I mean, like there's a civil service commission that was head over that. To my knowledge, one person still serves. I believe he's the chair of the civil service commission right now that was a part of that decision to hire that racist cop that labeled black folks as porch monkeys to give him his job back. And let's be clear, that's the incident that made the news.
Right.
What else has happened that we don't know about?
Right.
Right. So with that, having all that in mind, and I just want to go ahead right now and do an introduction to Harold Johnson, who retired Denver firefighter, current civil service commissioner.
Thanks for coming on the show, sir.
Yeah, please feel free to say a little bit about yourself and to talk about the incident. How are you feeling about the things? And
Okay, can you guys hear me?
we definitely can.
Okay. I'm born and raised in Denver, Colorado, native. Went to Catholic school the majority of time, and then, rebelled against my parents and went to public school for high school, went to Manual, which was my dream, but then got caught in the busing. This is back in the 70s, and ended up graduating from South High School. From there, went to freshman year at University of Colorado in Boulder. I was a football and track guy. Transferred to Northern Colorado up in Greeley, graduated from there, did my graduate work at Adams State University down in Alamosa. Upon graduating, I worked for the city of Denver for the next, maybe 15 years. My degree was in recreation. I worked at Skyland Recreation Center, great experience. After 10 years, they finally opened up the testing for directors. Those jobs, people don't leave. And I think 80 people, qualified to take the test. I finished number 1 on the test for director. So became director of Glenarm Recreation Center. And we go back so far, that at that time, they only had directors, you were the same color, race, whatever, of the center that you're at. Right. Only black guys or black females were directors of black centers. Right. I was the first. Just
a little bit of history right quick, Harold. Glenarm is the center that it's located in 5 Points.
Correct.
Right. So it's the Denver Rec Center that's right off of 5 Points.
Right. I opened up that because it was the Glenarm. Why they called it was Glenarm Rec. They tore that building down and built the new building that you see now that was opened. I opened up, was the new director there in 84.
Okay.
Several years after that, I was the first one to break the code or whatever they had of being the same race at when I was was made director at Harvey Park Recreation Center over, off of Sheridan there. So that was the first time having a black person at a white center. At any rate, Federico Pena came in. He was going to dismantle recreation. I had a cousin who was a firefighter in Boulder, city of Boulder. He became and still is the only black chief ever to be Boulder Fire Department. So I got on Boulder Fire, man, and was having a great time. And Dr. Joe Vigil, great man at Adams State University, arguably the greatest cross-country coach in the world, talked me into leaving the fire department and come down, finish my master's work and coach. Came back, did that, didn't get a great job. Another baby on the way. Took Denver's test in 93. Back then, man, they had what they call the cattle call. They just put out every 4 years or whatever, we're testing for firefighter. And you tested at Kurgan Hall, shoulder to shoulder. 20,000 people might have applied for the test. About 10,000 people took it. 10,000 people took the test. And I wasn't in the top. I finished number 1 on that test. Number 1.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
If I were to take Denver's test today, I wouldn't even get on the department. That's how they have manipulated this test. Told our mayor about it. I know Mike from when he was a little bitty dude, man, probably maybe 4 or 5 years old. That's how I know Mike Hancock. Well, he's not going to do anything about it. Just to give a little background, guys, still in the late 60s, I mean the mid 60s, the only black firefighters were at Station 3 down on Five Points, legendary Station 3. So that's about 12 men. Those men courageously went to court, and out of that showed the discrimination and the federally mandated, and they got the numbers of black firefighters by the mid 70s up to 50. Okay, let's fast forward to 2021 now. 2021. If we got in 10 years, we got up to 50, certainly there should be some really nice numbers for Denver Fire Department now with black men, right? Wouldn't you think?
You would think so.
How many black men do you think are on Denver Fire Department now?
10?
Are you saying less than the 50?
42.
40.
Oh, wow.
42. There's only one black chief left. He'll be gone in 2 years. There's only 3 black captains left. None of them are on track to be chiefs. So they have been successful in doing what they wanted to, keeping us off the job.
The good old boy network in the
Yes.
department. Okay.
And as you can see, I know my things. I know the backgrounds. They told me to be quiet, to shut up. And I wouldn't. Always talking about the racism, the sexism that goes on with the test. You get 5 extra points on the test if you've been in the military. I believe our men and women that serve in the military deserve that. But if you speak minimal Spanish, you get 5 points? What? Okay, get 5 points for that. You get no points for education. I have a master's degree. I didn't get a point for that. You get no points for education. No points for education. There's a physical agility test that you take called the CPAP. I was a CPAP evaluator. That's the only automatic disqualifier. If you cannot physically do the job, it doesn't matter what you would score on the test, correct?
Right.
So that would be the first thing you would do. Let's see who can even do the job. That's not the way they do it in Denver. You take the written test first, and they take the highest scores. When I was on, the last test that I was a monitor for the CPAP, if you didn't score 94 point something, you didn't get to go on to the next. 94?
Wow.
You don't have to score 94 on the test, the graduate test, to get into Harvard or Yale. So you see, right there, they're keeping black men out of it. It doesn't matter if you have a degree. Doesn't matter what you've done. They only take the highest scores. That's what they were doing then. So, and I was preaching about that. So how can it be 21 years, Denver Fire Department, for 20 years, I've never been suspended. And all of a sudden, in 6 months after I made captain, all of this comes up. And things that were years before this that they're bringing up that I was never disciplined about. Some of them were such lies. The first time I heard about it, it's laughable.
Okay.
Would
it's
you?
absurd.
All right. So I just have to ask, and I completely understand that this is a touching issue. It's a passionate issue because I too have been a victim and still am. We all are victims of racism. And anytime that the loudest voice speaks out against it, energies are always focused on that. But speaking to the allegations of some of the statements that you made, I was in the Navy. I understand. I played sports. I understand how locker room environment goes. Not trying to write any of that a pass, but I'm curious, did you make any of the statements?
And the real filthy statements, no, did not make them. And what they did was they cherry picked and only gave us 2 or 3 snippets of what was said. They didn't say what went on before, how we got to that place. But like the thing where the young man, Travis Gum, who said that I was at the table saying bloody, you know what?
Mm-hmm.
That never happened.
At all.
They didn't say that the other 8 people who were in the firehouse at the table drinking coffee and reading the paper all said. They never heard Captain Johnson say that.
Wow.
That young man was mentally and emotionally disturbed. Everyone knew that. Fire service, even more so than the police guys, is almost a cult. And you get people who want to be in so bad and want to be in that inner group. so bad that they'll do anything.
Mm-hmm.
He subsequently apologized to me. I'm so sorry, Harold, for what I done. You know about how that went over. I wanted to hit him in the mouth. Didn't. I just walked away from him. I didn't even address it. He has subsequently since then committed suicide.
Oh my
Lord.
And that, I'm not saying that was the reason, but I know his guilt about what he had done that figured into it. To show you how they can cover up this stuff, guys, he did this at a motel out in Aurora. To my understanding, they had to call the SWAT. When they finally broke in the door to get him, he had, killed himself, but had a cache of weapons and ammunition that was not ever in the paper or on media, TV at all. None of it. That's, deep, dark, ugly things with Denver Fire Department. We can go through those things piece by piece, and I can tell you, no. Supposedly my racist and sexist remarks were a young white firefighter at the fire station who they, of course, brought him in and told him what they'll do for him if he goes along with it. He said that, and even so, I don't know where this is racist, that I said young white boy and young black girl. Now, they didn't say that I said, I come in, the firefighters, the back steppers, they get there first, they're doing all this stuff, and I'm getting my stuff on the rig, and I look back and I say, wow, I never would have believed there'd be a time where we'd have a black captain, young white boy, and a young black girl on the back step with me. That's what I said. As if we're making progress.
Right.
Look at this.
So, Mr. Johnson. So let me kick off some questions real quickly. Just kind of hopefully get us on just a little bit on track. So, with respect to these allegations from the letter, and I had an opportunity to review the letter. It was in the Westword article, which was a 2015 article. Mm-hmm. And, it makes a lot of statements and comments. I guess my question is this. Have you had an opportunity? Have you been granted the opportunity to meet with Aurora City Council to address these things for yourself, to answer any questions for yourself about these allegations?
After they had thought that they were going to, we were going to, through Zoom like this, I was going to address it at the city council meeting this coming Monday. After the article that came out that, is it Dave Gruber? Dave Gruber called me a confirmed liar. Well, I don't know who confirms that, but I'm not a confirmed liar. We don't have a fact check on me being a liar, but we do that. The confirmed liar would be the man who was sitting in the chair in the White House.
Mr. Johnson, I have a question. I have a question, and I think it's going to go directly to that. So, I think all of us have read the
but man, hold on, just one second, if you will. Let me just finish this. So, I'm not going to speak to the city council as a whole. I would be blindsided. This Gruber man, I can tell from what I've searched and found with him, he would turn things around, misconstrue things, say things that aren't true, and throw them out there to see if they would stick. So I told the city attorney, Julie Heckman, to please give my number to all of the council. And if they wanted to talk to me, I would answer any and all questions. 3 council members have contacted me. I had great talks with them and explained what went on. We talked for an hour, each one of them. So, so that, is that better?
Yeah, right there.
So we, I got to speak with those 3 people at length and had good conversation with them. And, we'll see what goes on. Please, I'm sorry to have,
well, no, I think it goes to that question. I think, well, that was what's his name, Mr. Gruber or the councilman, directly related to, were you fired from the Denver Fire Department?
Correct. And as I told the 3 councilmen that talked to me today, I said, they say termination. I say retired, because when all this went down and I had to go to the police and fire pension is who takes care of us. I asked them about that. Well, it says I'm terminated. What does that affect? They said that doesn't affect anything here. You are separated from the department. If you're terminated, if you retire, if you quit, you're separated. So I said, okay, separated. I can say that I'm retired. I feel as though that is 21 years of super service. I'm retired from the Denver Fire Department. So what the thing is when one of them said, well, there was dishonesty, misleading from the, you didn't ask me like you're asking me right now, were you terminated? Does the paper say terminate? I would have said, yes, it was, the paper says terminated, but let me tell you my part of it, why I'm retired, why this was as far as I'm concerned, all those false allegations against me. So
here, I'm going to jump in right quick and ask a quick question and hand it off to Stefania. Are you receiving a pension from the city and county of Denver?
I have my pension, but what they did to me actually cost me $1 million. So I have my pension, not as much as I would have had or what I deserved, but I have my pension.
Okay. All right, Stefania, sorry. Thank you.
The letter actually says that you resigned pending termination. So that's what I read.
Exactly. So it's all of the semantics, resignation, pending, retired, separated.
Termination. You were just terminated.
Yes.
Under the termination.
So I believe communication is more than verbal, and I see my buddy Michael over there going through some facial motions. Speak your heart, man. Something.
Oh, no. And I want to understand, Mr. Johnson. I'm giving you as much room as you need. Do you believe that was misleading?
His answer or
not his answer. His answer to if someone asked when you told them you were retired, do you think that was misleading because either terminated, either fired, either separated, they have a different meaning in my mind than retired.
Put in there resigned, all of those things. In my mind, man, and what I've been through with all of this and things before, you answer questions that are asked you. No one asked me. So I gave the information that I have on my resume. And if they feel that, or even if you do, man, and that's fine, because still, even if you feel that, well, you were misleading, Mr. Johnson, that's fine. But still, it still goes to the fact of what led up to that and what happened and how unfair it was to assassinate my character and to have all these trumped up things that they did. My friend Captain Collie Fisher fought this. They fired her at the same time they did me, or terminated her. She fought it for the last 5 years. She finally won in federal court. And the judge actually said, I don't appreciate Denver Fire wasting the court's time like this. Let me tell you something else, guys, before we get into it, and I might forget. The paper that you have there was signed by the termination letter, the resignation that was signed by Deputy Director of Department of Public Safety, Christopher Lujan. Christopher Lujan did the discipline for the police and the sheriff. Jess Vigil did the discipline for the Denver Fire Department. Mr. Vigil went through everything, and he said, quite frankly, Captain Johnson, I can kind of see where this is going. And he said, with your record, with what's in your record in 21 years, if these things were true, and before I could say no, he said, and I don't believe it all, as he said, I've been at this for a while, I know. He said, it would not warrant termination. There's no progressive discipline here. You've never been suspended.
See, yeah.
Nothing major. Nothing has happened here that would do that. He said, but they want their pound of flesh. It's just what he said. He said, so I'm gonna give a severe discipline, and that'll satisfy them. And you just have your 5 years left. You're in the drop. Hey, we're going to move on. I say, okay. Tade and the Chief Tade, his assistant, head assistant, Charlie Drennan, no, he's not going to be a captain. We're not having it. Mr. Vigil, to his credit, says, no, he's not being terminated. That's that. That's my job. I say no. Do you know that they got permission to go get Christopher Lujan from the police and the sheriff department? He signed the termination papers. That's what blindsided me. I didn't even know what was happening. I thought we had a deal. Everything was done. He signs those papers. Subsequently, guys, and you can look this up, Christopher Lujan lost his position with the city and was terminated for sexual misconduct. Mm. This is the person that they got to sign the papers, Mr. Vigil, Just Vigil, who's a former judge, and then took this position with the city. He would not sign those. He said, no, that is.
Gotcha.
When the way, guys, that you're on the list when you test for these promotions. When the list came out, I tested for captain. I wasn't really, I'm at the end of the career. I wasn't high on the list. I wasn't supposed to make it when they looked at who was going to retire. Well, more captains and more chiefs retired than they had thought was going to happen. It comes to, hey, Johnson is going to make captain. I was the last captain made off that list. Johnson's going to make captain. They went to Chief Rex King and asked him to forego his retirement for 6 months so that the list would expire and I wouldn't make captain.
Wow.
And when Rex King heard that, because they hadn't, this new regime with Tade and Drennan running the show, they had not treated this very respected.
Gotcha.
And
it might seem a little hard to people out there, like, this didn't happen. This stuff don't happen. He's making this up. Black in America gives a different consciousness, and there's a different set of reality there's two separate rules, right? There's always been another set of rules that we have to work through. And if Lujan does this corrective action for law enforcement and was it Vigil does it for fire, I would believe that Vigil's signature would be on your paperwork and not Lujan's. But I believe that Michael had a follow-up question, and then Stefania also had something, but I don't want to negate Kevin as well, our quiet warrior over there.
My question was, just briefly, after all of that paperwork was signed, you actually went to, correct me if I'm wrong, the Denver version of the Civil Service Commission.
I did not know that you have to go through a serious legal, it starts up with legal things. And so that means I went through the initial part, and when I saw how much it was going to cost and how long it was going to take, I was not going to be able to fight it, man. They had more money and more time than I had. I had just also been diagnosed with amyloidosis, a very rare disease, very rare heart disease. And we're looking down the road that I'm going to need a heart transplant. I did have a heart transplant 2 years ago.
So was there no legal appeal even? Did you never do any kind of appeal through the Civil Service Commission or even file any kind of lawsuit?
I tried to deal with the appeal process, but when it became obvious, you can't do it on your own. They make it so you must have a lawyer. And when I saw what the money that lawyers are asking for you just to look at it, I had one lawyer that looked at the thing, and that was $1,000 there. Another one wanted a $10,000 retaining fee. Another one, my friend Collie Fisherman, she ended up spending $100,000 in legal fees.
My last question on all of that: where was the union? Where was your union?
Oh, yes, man. I'm really glad you asked that. I forgot to bring that. The union is run for and by the fire department. Now, if you know anything about unions, man, once you become management, you can't be in the union anymore, correct? Right. Not only Denver Fire had someone in the person in management in the union, it was a chief. not only a chief, but he held a high-ranking position in the union. The union said no. And here I'm a 21-year union dues paying. No, we can't do anything for you. Chief Tate said no, and that's the way it's going to be.
Wow. Okay. Thank you. Stefania, go ahead.
No, those were my questions. I wanted to know if it was union, if you thought it. All very poignant questions. That's okay. We got it answered.
I have a prying question after Kevin goes. Kevin, did you want to jump in on any of this?
Yeah. Absolutely. And not even specific to the specifics of your termination and resignation, but and it's not really even to you. It's kind of to anybody listening and watching. Whenever a minority is discriminated against and fired because they are that minority, and specifically because they're Black, don't they always give a good reason? Don't they always break it down to a policy that makes it appropriate for that person to be fired? Do they ever fill it out and say, because he's Black and I didn't want him to get up that high in a position? They never say that. They always say something that aligns with policy that makes it justifiable. I'm speaking as a Black man that has been fired for complete and absolute BS reasons. In my own, career, in the past, totally water under the bridge. But I've heard this story. I've seen this story a million times being from Texas, and just I come out here to Aurora, Colorado. I'm like, man, this is just wonderful melting pot. We're so much more inclusive. And I'm slapped in the face with I live behind the Aurora Theater where the shooting happened. I've slapped in the face with Elijah McClain being murdered by the police, a couple miles from where I stay. I'm slapped in the face by hearing stories like this and seeing that our own city council is getting dragged into the mix. So, I mean, just big picture. It's just more of a comment than a question. I just wanted to throw that out there. Also, thinking about the whole porch monkey comment, you're getting fired and then you're being reinstated by some of these same people that serve on this commission. Mm-hmm. And now it's the chair.
Well, even, man, guys, even to your point, man, when you, if you just look at the how different it is for a Black man, for in particular Black officer with Denver Fire Department. In 2015 is the last time that a firefighter died at a fire, got killed at a fire because of a mistake made by a chief. I won't say their name, but this was 2015. A mistake made by a chief. The investigation, yes, he made the mistake. It cost a life. Do you know what his discipline was? A shift of pay.
One shift.
Wow.
One shift of pay, and you caused, and you the mistake was something that the most junior of people wouldn't have made.
Wow.
There was no reason for this firefighter to have died. No reason whatsoever. And that was, we've had firefighters who, DUIs, a firefighter who was on the job, tested positive for drugs and alcohol. And these are officers. Officer who was caught stealing drugs out of a person's home that there was a fire at. He's in the medicine cabinet taking drugs. Firefighter who was, his wife had a restraining order on him. He follows her around. He gets arrested for it. Gets arrested twice for it. He's not, no. Fire officers that have done something with whatever it was illegally, and they allow them to wear the little monitor and come to work.
That's crazy to me.
That would not go on for a
standard that we've always had to deal with. I mean,
correct.
Coming to light. It's just, yeah. I agree. Aurora City Government, we will be watching.
When Kevin was speaking, he reminded me of an incident that my mom, right? It seems like we go through a lot, like, but this is, we just living our lives trying to mind our own business. My mom retired from Denver Public Schools, never written up, no type of corrective action, retired, took her full pay, retired. So years later, after she finished living up the good life of traveling and all this type of stuff, she got bored at home and decided to go back to DPS and apply for a job. She was marked as non-rehirable. And unbeknownst to her, she's like, how could this happen? I have a perfect record and over 20 years of working in Denver Public Schools. How is this going on? And it was some fighting, some pushing and prodding, and that got overturned. But it's just how these type of things happen. And people think like, well, if you were doing what you were supposed to do, well, here you are. You have people who are doing exactly what they're supposed to do, not raising any waves except for calling out calling out wrongness, right? And making people live according to a level of ethics that are the company's ethics, and they're faced with these type of punishments. But here's my prying question. Who were the 3 city council people? No, you said that you told them if they wanted to reach out to you, they could call you. Who were the 3 that took them up on that offer?
Juan Marcato, as I've spoken with Juan, I've spoken with Nicole Johnston and Allison Coombs, I think her name is.
Okay.
So, those 3 people. And, I didn't ask them, well, which way are you going to vote? We just talked at length and, had a really good conversation and exchanged views and what's going on.
Okay. Even if you didn't ask them, did they say which way they're voting?
No.
Okay.
No, I figured I'd just let that ride.
I have some breaking news that I know which way one of them is voting. And that is Councilwoman Nicole Johnston has told me that she's okay with me letting people know that she is not in support of Dave Gruber's motion to have you removed from the Civil Service Commission. So I appreciate Nicole Johnston. I mean, it's personal with me and her, personal with me and you. Like, I appreciate her, though, standing up, doing the right thing.
Yeah.
And she has a correction also in the Facebook comments. The current commissioners, no one there, or one of the ones that reinstated the employee that made the porch monkey comment. So correction, hey, we're being live checked, and that's good information. But
none of them, not even the one that we thought was there.
Hey, Mr. Johnson, this is Marcus again. I'm sorry. So let me ask you a quick question, and it goes along with the question from Jan Wilson. She asked, how will your experience be a benefit to the Civil Service Commission and the people who rely on that commission? I want you to answer that question, but I just want to ask you, what would you say to, if you had the ability right now to speak to all the city council members and just consider they may be listening, what would you say to them right now as to why you would be a benefit to the city council?
Well, I would say the same things that I said when they interviewed me and voted me unanimously to the commission. And that is that I am fair, I am objective, that I'm experienced, and that, I will go by the rules and do the right thing. And beyond that, help wherever I can. In terms of me and Matt Cain have talked about the way that the testing goes, the way that you test, the way that you recruit. If we can get a template, because they're not recruiting the right people, how their test is. Because if their test is like Denver's, they need to change the test. As I told you, when I came on with the cattle call, if you scored 85, which is more than smart enough to be a firefighter, if you scored 85, you got to go on to the next phase. Also, guys, this is another thing with Denver Fire that has had problem. Back when they were really trying, and they were going to recruit Black folks and Hispanic folks, females, they came up with the cadet program. Maybe you've heard of this, the cadet program. Well, and if I'm not, I could be wrong, but I think that was under Mayor McNichols, I think, who was a really good mayor, I think. But at any rate, you had to be in Denver Public Schools, and you got onto the cadet program. The cadet program, guys, they pay for your college education, and you work part-time with police, fire, sheriff. When you finish, I think they'll pay for the whole education, but after 2 years or after a certain amount of time, you can decide if you want to go with fire, police, sheriff. They save a job for you. You have a job through the cadet program. Now the cadet program has been hijacked by the chiefs. So the chiefs, the officers in Denver, and the ones that aren't officers, the ones that inner circle, their kids are in the cadet program. Mayor Chief Tate, this Charlie Drennan came through the cadet program. Right now, you have chiefs, several chiefs on the fire department and captains. Their kids are on because of the cadet program. One of the female chiefs that we have, Wendy Motor, she came through the cadet program. Her dad was big time with Denver Fire. You see where I'm going with this, guys? Mm-hmm. You talk about, and
do they have a lot of blacks that are going through the cadet program as well, or
no? Okay. No, and it was made for us. It was made as a in to come into the fire, police, or sheriff for Black, and back then we said Mexican. It wasn't Hispanic. Black Mexican kids. That's what it was for. And you were supposed to be Denver Public Schools.
So it makes
because
you think
remember
about,
back then, before Webb changed it, which was really bad, you had to live in the city of Denver to be a police, sheriff, or fire.
Mm-hmm. But okay, I'm not gonna do any punches at that way. But you know, sometimes we mess up our own trying to do some well-intentioned type of stuff. But couple of things. First, I want to launch off and say right off the press, right hot out of the comments, I want to give acknowledgement to Councilwoman Allison Coombs and Councilman Juan Marcano. They too have stated they are not supporting Dave Gruber's his motion or his petition to have you called off the Civil Service Commission. I thank all of them for that. I thank them for living their values. So thank you, council members, for that. But Harold, Harold, when you were talking about that program and how now it's been perverted and mutilated, yes. It makes me think of Stokely Carmichael, that it said there has never been an advance in civil rights that has not been for the benefit of white people. So yes. it just blows my mind that these systems that are designed to help people of color, and I don't like to say minority because globally we are not, but people of color to these positions, it blows my mind that this type of perversion happens and we no longer have access to it, which is why I'm always heavy on people when they talk about diversity. Like, let's get to the fine point, because diversity might mean blonde hair, brown hair, red hair. And it also might, then you also make the way for, we're diverse. We have women, and all these women are white women, and it is diverse for men, but that underlying factor is still there as well. So we have to pay attention to the details.
And Hashim, don't forget,
we don't know about the stuff that goes on.
Don't forget, Hashim, they have diversity. They don't have inclusion.
Right. Good point.
So it should also be made known, Hashim, along your note, that Gruber does not have enough votes to carry this forward. So that's good to know.
He's like his president, he lost.
Yeah.
Well, hey, look, let me jump in here because, kind of to Michael's question, about, just going further about, hey, how valid are these points? How clean and strong is this argument? There's someone on here corroborating by the name of Carly Fisher saying I was there for some of it. This, in fact, did happen. Transfer from Denver Police Department to Denver Fire Department, dealing with white union members and just kind of scoffing at the fact that there wasn't that level of support for Black members of the union, and saying, people were in here saying that they were making political moves to get these things signed and to make these moves happen. And, hey, guys, a little personal story, man. My mom, single mom, deadbeat dad, raised three 6 foot, 300-pound boys by herself, with no public services, maybe a little bit back in the beginning. She put herself through college. After she got her degree and started working, we were off of food stamps, we were off of WIC, we were off of housing and all that, and we became poor. My mom got a job at MD Anderson Cancer Hospital and worked her way up through the accounting department and became the top accountant for that entire company, which is the second largest cancer hospital in the world, or at least at the time, back in those days it was. A certain point in time happened, and it's before the recession. They decided that they want to downsize that department. They started cutting back. They started cutting them back on the higher level people and bringing in more lower level people. So they removed her from a project that actually valued the company's net worth. And they had 3 people below her do her job, lost millions upon millions of dollars of company value. And then she had to come through at the last minute and redo that work in way less time and find those millions of dollars of value to report it to the comptroller, right? So they can be that valued for the corporation. I say that to say this: a couple years later, they forced her out. She started getting bad evaluations. She started getting. I visually saw it because I worked by her job. I visually saw her manager come by and berate her, and I was still a young knucklehead, just straight out of the hood. And I saw a white man talking crazy to my mom. If you understand what I'm saying. So I know for a fact, you know. And hey, look, Mr. Johnson, I don't know you. I don't know what's going on inside of your mind. Maybe you did something wrong, but I know this world we're living in. I know these people will look straight at you, look you right in your face, and say, why did you do a bad job that day? I also have a personal story from my personal life. Been driving for 15 years. I came all the way up here, 10 years, perfect record driving, no tickets, no accidents. And I had a bad evaluation at this company, Cisco Foods in Denver. I had a white man that had not been driving the truck for 1/3 as long as I'd been driving, evaluating me as a supervisor, and he's just having fun with me. Apparently some white girl flirted with me that he had his eyes on. I did not even notice. I forgot that I saw her. At the end of the day, he wrote me up for every single possible thing that I could have done wrong. He said, you were turning your truck too wide, you were following too close, you were driving too fast. I'm like, you think that I forgot how to drive after 15 years once my boss got in the truck? But that's what he put on the paperwork. Correct. So just the whole idea of when we're talking about what Black people go through at work, yes, I put an asterisk next to it. Yep. I just put an asterisk next to it when they start giving these official evaluations and everything they're saying is 100% true.
Carter, yes.
Well, yeah, here's my thing, and this is kind of for the whole group and for Mr. Johnson. We've had a lot of engagement with the city council. How do we not have this happen this way again? Mm-hmm. I mean, like I said, the people are listening, the city council's listening, but nothing that we've done is new. It was just Mr. Johnson having an access to a microphone and our platform to speak the truth. How do we not allow this to happen again?
They're going to keep trying. Like I said before, Aurora City government, we're watching. We're watching. I'm glad that those numbers aren't there for Gruber. That they're not going to, he can't try and put his own agenda into this situation. But that's a good question, Carter. How do we stop the systems that be?
So. I don't know if we can ever stop the racist news media that wants to be active or engaged whenever they want to, because that was what launched this off after the unanimous vote.
Yep.
I try not to speak for people, and they're in the comments, and feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, and I'll eat that. But I feel that I, too, am guilty of 0 to 100 real quick on something. I am. You know me. I've done it, allegedly. No, I've done it before, and I own it. And I think that this incident will have council members ask different questions. I feel that they're learning from it, right? At least those of us on our side are learners. They're intelligent enough to learn, and they display that. But I really feel that they will learn from this, and they'll ask different questions, right? Like I feel that, and I honestly feel that if they had asked the questions that maybe they asked on the phone, or it has to be, with the questions that they asked Harold on the phone call, that I'm gonna pick on Juan for a moment, or Councilman Marcano for a moment, that his statement would not have launched out, that he would not have been paired with Dave as it relates to calling for the removal of Harold from the commission. I mean, it's a learning experience, so I really believe that that'll happen going forward. I have faith on our side of learning.
That would have had to have come from Gruber, though, because when the media reached out to him with this story, and that's I'm assuming how it happened, they did some research, they saw that you were on the committee, they reached out to Gruber. Gruber should have given the pushback instead of immediately taking the position that, we're going to have him removed. Let me do some research.
Well, Gruber's trash. And that's my on and off the record statement.
Okay, but that's where we're at. People like that need to say what should have happened is let's go to Mr. Johnson, let's have this conversation. But instead, in the media, he started prostrating and took the position that he's out of there. We're gonna get him out of here. Period.
Yeah,
He was a dog. He was a dog with a bone.
He shook his white pillowcase and was like, "Pop, yes, let's do this."
He was a dog with a bone.
He was a dog with a bone. I ever
Give it an
white pillowcase.
Not he was a dog with a bone, not a white pillowcase.
Yeah, he immediately,
Statements made by Hashim Coates do not represent DBT Media LLC.
right.
We do want David Gruber on the show. If you have an open invitation,
Yeah, come explain to us, Dave.
and give us your side
Your
of it.
mindset.
Maybe when he's on the show, he won't roll his eyes at me like he does when I would go down and testify at the Whale in City Council. Him and Mark
We want him on the show.
do that to me. So when I say these comments, they're rooted in the context of our relationship.
I'm sure he's got great answers for all of this. So I'd love to have him on.
Yeah.
And
He should have
let's
known
talk
better
about
because he used to be a commander over on Buckley, right? Like if he was a bona fide certified leader, right? You know how to deal with this type of stuff. In his 4 years of being on council, like you know how the media is.
Mm-hmm.
So no excuse. No
But
excuse.
this is a safe space for you, Mr. Gruber. You can come on the show.
Yes.
You come on here and give your side of the story. We're giving Mr. Johnson a chance to talk about his side of it. And you know what, Mr. Johnson, on that note, look, we gave you a fair opportunity. And I didn't get to talk to you at all before this show. I don't know if you spoke to anybody else besides Hashim before this show. I've never met you before, but I trust and believe that a lot of the stuff you've done is for the best of the community. And I want to say, for the sake of the show, thank you for being a firefighter. You know, we see a lot of people talking about the police and the military. People don't talk about firefighters enough. I happen to have grown up across the street from a volunteer fire department. So every time there's a fire in my neighborhood, the alarm went off and woke me up out of my bed. So I know how often you guys are running out to an emergency. And thank you so much for putting your life on the line and all the training and everything you put yourself through. Outside of anything anybody has to say negative about it, thank you for your service on that, sir.
Yeah.
Well, man, thank you for that. And thank all you guys for that. But really, as much as I've done with the fire department, we can sit down and I can tell you some stories and some things that I've done and been through that, until you get older, until you are done with it, you look back and say, well, I can't believe it. But what I've done best with my life, guys, is as an educator and a coach. I left the fire department for 2 years. I was the head track coach and I head football coach and head track coach in top classes at Langston University, a historical black college down in Oklahoma. If you want to hear some stories, you get with me and I'll tell you some stories.
You might need to come back on. The two co-founders are on the
You can talk to us.
We're interested in that.
You can talk to us about Langston.
Oh yeah, man! I got some stories for you.
Yeah, you're always welcome back. Thank you for last week or the other day receiving the invite while live and agreeing to come on. And I want to say, I just want to say. I want to say right quick, hold on, Harold. I just want to say to Dave Gruber that he is more than welcome to come on and he can show off the fact that he's a part of a class that has never had a law written against him or his group for being able to learn or to read and has all the access. So we'd be definitely interested to hear his opinion.
Well, we would. We want to know your mindset and what brought you to the conclusions that you came to. So Dave Gruber, come on. But go ahead, Harold.
Hashim, before we let you go, I want to touch on this. I've known your mom since I was 22 years old, known her through her whole career with Denver Public Schools. She was beloved by all, except some of those ones who didn't like that she was for right. I just want you to know that. She was beloved. I mean, you talk about everybody knowing Miss Coates and everybody coming to Miss Coates.
Yeah, she is my mom is actually my street cred. So yeah, and I know those who did not like her and tried to be her undoing in DPS, and the same people that kiss up to me, and I'm like, you don't understand. I believe in blood oath feuds.
Yes.
My mama don't like you. I don't like you.
That's right. But all right, so Harold, we normally do a wrap up with a dope black thought. And a dope black thought is just a thought coming from a dope black man about how you think and how you feel. And we want to bestow the honor to you of leaving us and closing us out with a dope black thought.
I have a thought for you, man. And once something I say to the young men and young women that I've coached and played for, I believe, I tell them that great things are done, in small places. Let me try to remember what I say. The truly great things are done in small places, not in heroic deeds for all to see, because a courageous act does not a hero make. And they talk about firefighters, police, first responders. We all do. You see courageous things. That does not make you a hero. And that I have a lot of different things that I love, inspirational sayings, but that's one.
Well, thank you.
Well, thank you, sir. We're going to ask you to go ahead and log off. We're going to wrap it up amongst the team.
Okay.
And we appreciate you coming on, sir. It was an honor.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Thanks, guys. And please call me anytime. I'd love to meet you guys and talk and hey, have a coffee or something. But thanks so much. Love you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you for coming on.
Stay
Thank you. Wonderful.
Thank you, sir.
A-D-D-I-C-T-E-D. What is love? It's a drug. Let it rotate, then get back in it. Calling me an Uber just to get back to you. The cash out like fake, I send it. Is it really worth the wait? I don't get it. Dividing gravitate. Taste that wet emoji got me higher out of space.